I said I wasn't going to do this. I said I was never going to put out a video or a blog post which was really ranty and stamping my feet. I've criticised people who've put out stuff when we're trying to do some really good things around inclusion, and it's not constructive. But here I am. Just come back from a fantastic trip across over to the States. And for those that you don't know, we share our experience about how inclusive destinations can be, how inclusive travelling can be. And we had a great time. Some fantastic things happened. Particularly want to mention Fran from Wilson James in Gatwick. Genuine superstar. And it also encapsulates everything I says about people beat the process every single time when we're looking at any aspect of service. But I need to try and help myself, and perhaps you'll understand, that when we got to a certain airport, I'm not going to mention who it is, and we had wheelchair assistance, how the person employed to provide assistance wouldn't mention a thing, wouldn't say a thing, just pointed to a chair for my daughter to sit in there, wheeled her for around about 10-15 minutes without saying a thing, however engaging with other staff as they walk past, left her and us in the middle of a terminal with no instructions, even though I asked for them, and then walked off, and then proceeded then to point for my daughter to get out of the wheelchair. How is that acceptable? How is that service? How is that accessibility? And how is that inclusion? Because my background is retail, and I've done so much fantastic work around customer service, and with all the work we do at Delsion around accessibility and inclusion, that is a million miles away from where it should be. In an airport which has had billions of pounds opening a new terminal, which doesn't even have a trolley in the car park to put your bags on for anyone. That's not an accessibility piece. That's not an inclusion piece. That's a service piece. That is just unbelievably bad from an organisational perspective, for the money that's spent, the money that's invested, for the money that's given to the organisations that provide assistance. It's an absolute non-starter. You're going to lose passengers, you're going to lose staff, you're going to lose money, you're going to lose profit, you're going to lose share value. You're going to lose credibility. So how can any organisation set up anything and go, we're just going to half-arse it. We're just going to do the minimum job because that group of people, that group of customers don't need it. From an inclusive travel perspective, it's worked out in the next couple of years, inclusive travel will make up 30% of the market. You cannot keep doing these things. Which leads me on to another experience that I had where we went to an autism-friendly place. It wasn't even friendly, let alone autism-friendly. There was nothing that we could see, despite asking, despite looking through the website, nothing that we could see that indicated any movement, any training, any single thing that had been put into place specifically around autism, specifically around inclusion. Which leads me to the point of, why sign up for it in the first place? We keep on wanting to have these little badges as if we're in the Scouts or the Cubs, so we can sort of share on social media. If you're not going to do anything that has an impact, if you're not going to take these things seriously, well, the only joke is on yourselves. Because you're never going to move the things forward. And we start seeing it time and time again. So on our return, flying out, had a very similar experience. So my son is autistic with ADHD, and there's 3 of us who are disabled in the family, all of which security is an absolute nightmare for us. My son wears ear defenders. At what point is it acceptable to take the ear defenders off a child, understanding why they're wearing them, and then leaving them on the other side of the security for 10 minutes and not giving them back? Putting someone at distress. You know what the environment security is. You know the issues that it creates. And when I then ask someone from assistance for help, who are then guiding us through the security, and they walk off and sit down and start playing with their phone. What is the point of having assistance? What is the point of trying to help people if there's no intention of doing that in any way, shape or form? And on this, I have to question British Airways, because it's an indication of an organisation in regards to the service it provides or the service it allows to happen. There must be a service agreement with the airport. They must have an understanding of the service that's being delivered. And on a wider piece, that indicates to me the culture of inclusion that sits across the organisation. Because if people don't get it within an organisation, or you just rely on a couple of individuals in a department to start doing this stuff, it's a failure. Every single time. It's an absolute failure. I said I wasn't going to do this. I said I wasn't going to have a rant. But it's interesting to see that the experiences we've got, that we've seen, still apply to other organisations. If you are ticking boxes, if what you're doing isn't having an impact on other people, specifically around inclusion, it's failed. You can stick it on social media as much as you want. You can celebrate those successes, but make sure they are absolutely successes. So here's one for you. Does every single manager in your organisation understand what you're doing around ED&I? Can they sit down with any one of their teams and communicate it? That's a real benchmark. That's a temperature check of the culture that you got. Do you get it as an organisation? Because from everything that we've seen, people don't get it. You haven't landed it. You've not made that culture change. You haven't brought people with you on the journey that you are trying to make around there. And the wider impact is huge. You need to understand the benefits of being inclusive. You need to understand what you achieve by bringing everyone in to create that sense of belonging in an organisation. There are some fantastic things going on. There really, really are. But I've got a real fear that too many organisations are trying to tick a box without really, really understanding what inclusion brings to the organisation. So to every organisation, to every person that's really driving things forward, absolutely fantastic. To the organisations that don't know what to do, please reach out. There's loads of support that's available. Don't wing it. You don't need to. But to the organisations that are doing it just to be seen to be doing it, you're not doing anyone any favours. And it's going to come back and it's going to bite you. However, in saying that, we did have a fantastic time. There were so many fantastic examples of inclusion, of accessibility, and it's great to see. We've been doing this for 7 years to see how things have moved along. I said I wasn't going to do a ranty thing. I said I was going to be really reconstructive, and the constructive thing is there's loads of things to do. If anyone ever wants any help, wants any questions answered, don't hesitate to reach out to myself, because I'll either know or I'll pass it on to somebody else. Let's keep moving forward. There's some great things ahead of us. And apologise, this is a ranty one. Normal service will be resumed on the next one. Take care.